Hey, Nancy. So a pivotal time for Saudi Arabia. I can't get my words out this morning. It's a bit early here in Riyadh. I'm joined by Jan Friedrich. He is with Fitch's Ratings, and we're talking about what's happening here in Saudi Arabia and what's happening next in terms of the growth picture versus that fiscal consolidation. Are they getting this right?
Yeah, so I think there has been a little bit of a shift. Initially, they really had a very strong focus on consolidation, almost over-ambitious in a way that it would probably have hurt the economy quite a bit. Now they are switching a little bit more towards focusing on growth. They have some worries about rising unemployment, in fact. And so that pushes the fiscal consolidation part a little bit to the back burner. And it's very important to see how that interplay continues to play out. At the moment, it seems that it's a bit bigger focus on growth, and that raises some questions about whether the pace of adjustment to a renewed lower oil price environment is going fast enough.
Well, we have these oil prices and getting higher. What is the thought here? Because so often people say to me there are real worries about whether or not the Saudis will continue with this massive fiscal reform and structural reform program if these oil prices continue to go higher. What's your take?
Yeah, there is probably still a certain degree of oil price cyclicality in the reform process. So there was a great emphasis before trying to really entrench the reform path, but you do see a little bit that pressure on fiscal consolidation has eased up. The citizen stimulus program, for example, I'm not sure whether it really would have happened if oil prices had continued to be as low as they were earlier. So immediately, of course, the impact is positive for fiscal balances, no question about it. But it raises, it probably slows the process a little bit for the long-term reforms, although they have made great progress.
Talk to me a little bit about the risks here, because what we see missiles coming out of Yemen, hitting close to Riyadh, hitting close to Aramco as well. A lot of concern over whether or not that could have a massive impact on the infrastructure there. When you look at the risk case scenario for Saudi Arabia, what comes to mind?
So clearly the escalation of tensions with Iran is a big issue, no question about it. I'd say anything that really could hurt like revenues or so is a very low probability. But the impact is just so high that it's probably something that one can no longer completely ignore in the...
Can't really even gauge.
I'm sorry?
And you couldn't even gauge how big that impact would be.
No, clearly it depends really on the specific circumstances, how big the impact, what exactly the measures or the tensions or the issues are, whether there's difficulties in getting oil out of the Gulf, if it's attacks on actually oil production facilities. So that really depends, but it's certainly something that is now becoming pretty core to the assessment, even though the probability of anything really dramatic happening probably is still quite low, because both sides know how much is at stake. So they are reluctant to play with fires.
There are big plans for privatization here in Saudi Arabia. Those plans have been scaled back slightly. Now they're talking about ports, they're talking about airports, they're talking about desalination plants. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I'd say slowing down and being really careful in how the privatization is planned is actually probably positive, because getting privatization right is really not that easy. So getting the deals, particularly if we are talking about private-public partnerships, getting the conditions right is important, because the risk is there that you expose yourself to contingent liabilities. So you really need to analyze those thousands of pages of contracts.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.